flirting, stumbling a little, milking any excuse to lean on each other. They'd been doing it for over an hour now, and showed no signs of packing it in. None of them seemed the least bit concerned about the fact that adolescents in the area had recently disappeared into thin air. Next to him, Creighton reached into the back seat and picked up the case file again, flipping it open and squinting at it in the dim light from the street. They had both been through the damn thing a dozen times already, but Creighton was compulsive about it by now, paging through the file the way some people might jiggle a knee or crack their knuckles. 6 teens, that they knew of, had gone missing from 3 towns in this county, including Heavenly, in the last 4 months. Their division of the FBI, the newly created Bureau of Preternatural Investigations, had been called in after the 3rd kid was attacked, when the local cops had actually managed to come up with a body, a 17-year-old girl named Bobby Clay, who had bled out at the wrists. That itself wasn't enough to prove she'd been killed by a shade, but there were other signs. The body had multiple slices over major arteries, for example, and was wiped and moved after death. She'd obviously fought tooth and nail, judging by the defensive wounds on her hands and arms, but weakly, as if she'd lost a lot of blood before it occurred to her to protest. The pathologist who'd conducted the autopsy, Jessica Reyes, had suggested a shade attack. That was when the BPI first stepped in, and right about when everything started going to hell, 3 more kids had gone missing in the weeks after the BPI joined the investigation, and then 4 different agents suddenly disappeared. It was an enormous blow to the tiny and unproven BPI. Unlike the rest of the Bureau, the Supernatural Division was organized into small teams of 6 agents, including a senior agent in charge. There were only 2 pods on the East Coast and 1 in Chicago, but there was talk of opening another branch in Los Angeles if Director Green could get the funding. Losing 4 agents from the Chicago pod meant losing a large percentage of the entire BPI division, which made everyone look even worse. Public perception was a whole other problem. In the months since the BPI's formation, all 3 pods had exhibited a nearly pathological lack of progress, hard proof that Green could wave in front of Congress. Oh, they had discovered a number of alleged shades, both in Washington and here in the Chicago area, but every time the BPI found a trail, it abruptly terminated. These people, these things, in Ruiz's opinion, could just fucking vanish, something that was otherwise impossible in the technological age. It was like playing goddamn whack-a-mole with murderers. No one had captured a shade, dead or alive, since Ambrose. But now, 30 miles south of Chicago, the pattern had finally changed. The shades in question had to know the BPI was onto them, but they'd made no effort to back off. In fact, they'd only pushed harder, taken more kids, which went against every method they'd previously established. The Chicago SAC, Peralty, was so pissed he'd actually come out himself tonight to run point out of the unmarked van 2 blocks over. It was a ballsy move, but also rather stupid, in Ruiz's opinion. The boss rarely made appearances in the field, and as a result, everyone was discombobulated tonight. As if Peralty could sense his disloyal thoughts, Ruiz's little Bluetooth earpiece beeped.
Ruiz, update.
Peralty's voice was brusque, but Ruiz knew that was just to hide his anxiety. They had to find someone tonight, goddammit. Too many people had died. Ruiz lifted the radio.
More of the same, sir. Wait.
As he watched, the kids began to break apart into groups. Finally.
They're splitting up now. 2 couples are heading our way, and there's a group of 3 going west. Stay with the couples, Peralty instructed. I'll send Hill and Osmansky after the group.
Yes, sir. Ruiz out. Ruiz started the sedan, while beside him Creighton let out one more round of cutesy sneezes before he flipped the file closed and fastened his seatbelt. They didn't speak, both too focused on the teenagers. Heavenly had plenty of streetlights, but unlike major cities, which gave off light from security doors and late-night businesses everywhere, in this podunk town, the street lamps were the only line of defense against the dark. As the kids walked from one pool of light into the next, there was always a quick moment where they were nearly invisible. It set Ruiz's teeth on edge. He waited until the 4 kids had stumbled almost to the end of the block before he put the car in drive, creeping along the streets. When he was 50 feet behind them, he pulled over again, waiting. In Chicago, his behavior would have looked suspicious as hell, but the speed limit in downtown Heavenly was only 20 miles per hour. Everyone skulked around.